It's time for business. Kate Moody joins us. Good evening, Kate, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Great to see you. Inflation in Turkey has hit its highest level in nearly 2 decades. Tell us more.
Well, officially topping 36% for the month of December. That's compared to 1 year earlier. Inflation had already hit 21% in November. It's a more than 13% increase in just 1 month. Now, the surge in consumer prices was driven by higher transport and food and drinks prices, up just under 54 and 44% respectively. Producer prices were a whopping 80% higher than they were a year earlier. Inflation has been rising steadily as the Turkish lira crashed to record lows last year. The currency rebounded slightly towards the end of December, but it still lost around 44% of its currency against the US dollar in 2021. Most economists attribute the currency slump to the unorthodox economic vision of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who has ordered a series of interest rate cuts despite those rising prices. Well, earlier I got an update from our correspondent in Ankara, Jasper Mortimer.
The basic cause of this rise in inflation is that under pressure from Erdogan, the central bank has cut interest rates by as much as 5% in the past 4 months. Now, economists the world over say that when inflation rises, you raise interest rates, not cut them. Erdogan disagrees. Erdogan believes that by lowering interest rates, he will boost exports, get the economy to grow, and eventually everything will come right. Now, you said, how are people coping? Well, the clearest indication of how this is affecting people is the bread queues. In Turkey, municipalities sell subsidized bread at kiosks on the pavement. They're called halk ekmek, people's bread. And at these kiosks, a loaf costs 8 less than in the cheapest supermarkets. Now, I've been struck by how unusually long these kiosk queues are. You see 8 to 10 people outside them at as late as 11:30 in the morning. A journalist in Istanbul posted on social media a video of a queue that reached back 150 meters. I've also noticed that some of the people queuing at these kiosks are middle-class people. They drive up in their Toyota Corollas. But to them, a difference, a saving as much as 8 is worth it.
Jasper Mortimer reporting in Ankara. The French government is beefing up its financial support for businesses affected by new restrictions to control the spread of COVID-19. The tourism and hospitality sectors are among those being targeted. Companies that lose 65% of their revenue compared to pre-pandemic levels will be eligible for compensation. That's a lower threshold than the previous 80%. They'll also be able to, once again, receive payroll or furlough support for their employees. Overall, the additional aid measures will total around €100 million, on top of some €240 billion, which had been spent since the start of the pandemic. Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire said it's the right strategy to protect French households and businesses.
Notre méthode de gestion de la crise nous a permis de relancer l'activité économique très vite et très fort, d'avoir un niveau de croissance économique très élevé en 2021, de retrouver un bon niveau d'emploi. Donc c'est la preuve que c'est la bonne méthode. Quand la méthode est bonne, il ne faut pas en changer.
Apple has become the first American company to be worth $3 trillion. The tech giant's market value briefly topped that milestone during Monday's trade before its share price dropped back slightly. It is a mostly symbolic step, but it does mean that Apple's market cap has tripled in just under 4 years. It first crossed the $1 trillion mark in August of 2018. The Consumer Electronics Show is set to open its doors later this week, but for a shorter period than initially planned. The tech event will take place in Las Vegas from January the 5th to the 7th, not the 8th, because of the global spike in COVID-19 cases. Many firms are pulling out of the world's biggest technology showcase. Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Meta, formerly known as Facebook, are among those that won't send representatives, although they are still planning announcements this week. After an all-digital format last year, the 2022 event will be a mix of online and in-person displays.
Well, of course, we do lots of online shows and online meetings but there is nothing like meeting in person and feeling that human chemistry.
There's a lot of mileage in virtual shows. I mean, I think now the industry is going to be hybrid. We're always going to have a virtual offering as well as in person. So that's possibly been a good revolution within the industry.
There could still be some pretty big announcements coming from the tech sector this week, but many of them, Mark, not in person there.
Indeed. Kate, watching from afar on that one. Thank you very much.